Hello and welcome to Speedcubing 101. This is a podcast for the Speedcubing community with a special focus on helping parents of new cubers get up to speed, with the world of speedcubing. My cuber and I are kind of in the same boat right now. He knows most of the time he can't cube until he has his responsibilities and his chores done. I say mostly because there's days where some chores don't get done and he gets to cube. For me, it's almost the same where I can't podcast about cubing until I get my stuff done. And I really wanted to get this out to you because I really actually want to get the next episode out to you pretty quickly too. That's because the person you'll hear on the Cube News segment of this episode, my extended chat with her is in the next episode, but she's covering the Ontario Championships in the Cube News segment, which I wanted to get out first because it's already been in our rear view mirror for a while. But let's start today's topic, where do I get faster cubes, by noting that not all cubes are the same. Actually, there's a huge difference between the cubes that you buy. Well, our first cubes were from the dollar store, the party store, Thinka. And when Cuber got more interested in cubing after that first competition that we watched, I went over to Amazon and bought a set. It was 6 cubes, 2x2, 3x3, 4x4, Pyraminx, Megaminx, and Axis Cube. Looked good to me. $35 for 6 cubes. Pretty nice of me to spend that much money on my kid. And reality is, he didn't know any different either. We were oblivious, very oblivious to all the mechanics of what makes a cube faster. But as we continued to visit and observe at competitions, for those who don't know, Cuber and I visited 5 competitions before he actually entered one. I remember there was one in Burnaby, near Metrotown, if you live near here. And Cuber was asking me if he could get some of the cubes like the other kids. Well, there was a man sitting at a table at this competition with a laptop. And I don't know, you sit at a table with a laptop, you look like you're official or you know what's going on. So I went up to him and I said, "Are you the boss here?" And he said, "No, but what do you need help with? I do have a cuber here who's cubed for a long time." So I asked him, "Well, where did these faster cubes come from? I bought some on Amazon. It's not the same." And so Aaron, now a friend, and Aaron, thank you for pausing your work that day to help this lost parent figure out what to do when her kid wants a faster cube. Anyways, this competition was in Canada, as I mentioned, but Aaron lives near Seattle in America. So for him, he popped open his laptop right away and said, "This is what you need." And for him, his shop of choice is Speedcube Shop. I was chatting with another mom recently about how kind the cubing community is, and Aaron was so kind to show me how he uses the website. And when I found out he was from Seattle, that's when I realized some people travel a fair bit to get to competitions. Little did I know then that I would be one of those parents, because Cuber goes to just as many competitions across the border in America as he does here in Canada. Here in Canada, there were 2 Canadian-owned cubing shops, Cubing Out Loud and CanCube. Cubing Out Loud is alive and well and sponsors the competitions in British Columbia, where I live, plus other ones. Also, Catherine with Cubing Out Loud is involved, not just with the shop, but also with competitions in the area where she is, which happens to be Ontario. So you're going to hear a bit about an unofficial event that she ran in the Cube News segment. The other company, called CanCube, was acquired by Speedcube Shop, which is a company based out of Las Vegas. Cuber has purchased, and of course that means I have purchased, from Cubing Out Loud, from Speedcube Shop, and also from The Cubicle. The Cubicle is based out of New York and sponsors the Pacific Northwest competitions that we go to down there. I'm also looking at a resource page on Reddit, and credit to Yuli from the Hawaiian cubing community for giving me this. You will hear her share in a future episode of Speedcubing 101. I will link to this Reddit page in the show notes of this episode, but I wanted to note that in America, it's listed here, iCube Mart, which is based in LA, also offers cubes. If you're listening to this and you're not in Canada or the United States, do look at this resource on Reddit, which lists how you can get faster cubes from a store that is closer to where you live. Now, of course, just knowing where to buy faster cubes is only a part of the task. Choosing which cubes to buy is another task. So if you can have your cuber try out cubes at a competition, just ask someone, can I see your cube? Can I try it? By the time my cuber competed, he did have a magnetic 3x3. But later on, when we went to another competition, he really wanted to compete in Megaminx. And so he actually competed with that Amazon, and I know some of you are just cringing, Amazon Megaminx. Surprise, surprise, he came in last. But he saw one cube that he liked that an older competitor was using. And so he asked him. His name is Jack. And Jack was happy to hand over his Megaminx. And he actually also tried the Amazon one and was like, yeah, this might not be what you want if you're competing. Both in speed and in size. The one that Jack had was smaller and faster. By the way, thank you, Jack. We ended up getting the same one that Jack has, which of course is magnetic. So ask away if you're at a competition. If you're fortunate enough that there's a merch table, they may not have a sample of a cube you're interested in. It's always better, right, to be able to try it before you buy it. Now, maybe you're in an area that doesn't have a delegate and doesn't have many competitions or any competitions. You can always check out a meetup or even just post it in a cubing Facebook group or on Discord and see if you can meet up with anyone. Forgive me if I've shared this already because I don't remember. My cuber met up with a kid in the neighborhood who is cubing curious. The family had purchased an animal keychain that was a 3x3 from the Calgary Zoo when they were visiting earlier this summer. And this neighborhood kid couldn't solve it. So the mom posted in our local Buy Nothing group. And when we met up, my cuber didn't bring his nicest cubes, his competition cubes, but he has some what he considers not as nice magnetic cubes. But for somebody new, it wowed both the mom and the kid what a magnetic cube feels like. By the way, Cuber did really well with solving the Calgary Zoo cube. He solved 4 sides. However, because 2 sides, the center, you have to match it exactly, right? He couldn't get the centers of 2 of the sides to be facing the right direction. So the centers of 2 of the sides are upside down. And hopefully the family will be able to get that bit solved. And I say this because maybe you can meet someone in your neighborhood. We've met at a public place outside the coffee shop and be able to take some faster cubes for a test drive before you make your purchase.
Time for some Speedcubing 201.
Now, I am far from qualified to take you to the 201 level for this, but I have a great resource for you. It is a podcast all about cubing hardware. The podcast is called Cubing for Nerds. It actually only has the 1 episode, and I have permission to share that the creator of this episode is Harlan. He is a cuber from Vancouver. Harlan is actually the cuber that would solve the cubes when my cuber was learning and couldn't solve. He would bring it to Harlan and Harlan would solve it. And this kept happening until Harlan said, listen, you have to learn how to solve this yourself. I can't keep solving this for you. Harlan knows his stuff. He's showed me, he's taken apart a cube just to show me and explain, and it just goes over my head. But if you're at the place where you want to get into cubing hardware, the podcast is Cubing for Nerds. I'm going to link to it in the show notes. You can go to it now or later. What I will say here, though, is when you are purchasing cubes, take a note of your calendar. Is it almost Father's Day? There may be a sale coming up. Plus, sign up for the email lists of these stores. They may have flash sales. If your cuber follows any of the sponsored cubers or sponsored YouTube channels, you'll likely be able to get a promo code that will help you not have to lighten the wallet too much. I want to take a moment here to say that I too have sponsors for Speedcubing 101. They are not any of these shops. They are companies that aren't involved in the cubing community in their day-to-day, but we're very happy and excited to support the cubing community by sponsoring Speedcubing 101. So starting in a couple of days, you may hear ads on this podcast. Those are to help me to cover the costs of the production and the processing and the hosting of each episode. I actually would prefer this, if possible, to not be sponsored by any of the cubing shops, because I want to be able to say, hey, this one's having a sale. Hey, that one's got this on clearance right now. And I want to have Catherine from Cubing Out Loud share on this podcast. Cameron from Speedcube Shop come on over and share. And Phil from The Cubicle, plus others who are willing to give their time to be part of Speedcubing 101.
It's time to catch up on your Cube news.
Thank you. That's my daughter, by the way. I'll start our Cube news segment today with a recap of the Ontario Championships that happened August 9th to 11th, 2024. For those who don't know, this was the first ever Ontario Championships. My guest who is going to be sharing her experience there, I am calling myself Cube Mom Official. This person is Cube Mom Original. Her name is Wendy Newland. We've met a couple of times, but recently I sat down with her and we had a chat that is going to become edited into a few different episodes on a few different topics. But I first wanted to have her share the Ontario Championships. And as you can tell from my recap of the BC one, and you'll hear it in hers, we're not doing a deep dive into what algorithm was used to solve which scramble. There's lots of podcasts and lots of YouTube channels that cover that. All right. Without further ado, here's my chat with Cube Mom Original, Wendy Newland, talking about the 2024 Ontario Cubing Championships.
Hi, Wendy. How are you today?
I'm well. Thank you very much for having me.
Actually, Wendy, I have a question before we go into the recap. Because we were at the BC Championships in Nanaimo for 3 days. And what I realized, I felt like we almost needed 3 days to recover, or like the vacation after the vacation. How is it for you? Because Ontario was also a 3-day competition, right?
Yes, it was 3 days. I find that for me personally, as being a runner a lot, my legs are tired at the end of each day, that's for sure. But yeah, typically my cuber is pretty tired after a 3-day competition because he typically competes in all of the events, or almost all of them anyway. So it's a fast turnaround, especially when by the time the cuber is making it to the second round, the third round, the fourth round. Right. It's a lot of rounds. So yeah, people are tired at the end.
Okay. It's tired, but it's a good tired. It is the best kind of tired when it's a cubing competition, especially if your child happened to win one of the events. So tell me, let's talk about what happened at the first Ontario Championships.
It was great. The venue was excellent, nice and big. All the cubers felt it was a little bit cold. As we know, our cubers don't like to have cold hands. So that was the only complaint from everyone, is that the venue was a bit too cold. But otherwise, it was great. The finals of the 3x3 was amazing. Morgan Ye took first place with an average of 5.87 seconds, and he was in tears. It was such an amazing for him to win that. He's worked really hard. He's a grade 12 student, getting ready to go on to university. So he's worked really hard. Second place was Bruno Lee Kwanchan, and he is from Hong Kong, but he's studying in Toronto at a college there. So we've known Bruno for a few years now, and he had an average of 6.75. And then in third place, Brennan Lin, he had an average of 7.35. Brennan has just finished his first year of university at Queen's University. So that was great seeing them all do really well. And as you alluded to, yes, my cuber got first place in clock. So he was very happy about that and got a single PR. So he was happy about that.
So congratulations to everyone. Okay, you shared the 3x3, you shared about Lucas, but I want you to share a bit more about the competition. Do you have any stories or something about?
So yes, our Ontario Championship was also sponsored by Cubing Out Loud, which is the only Canadian cubing company left, that they're situated out of Burlington, Ontario. And so aside from their booth, we ran, and I volunteered to do this as well, to run unofficial events. So that was really fun. So we ran some for parents. So any of you listening out there, new parents, I ran a white cross event. What that was is that somebody who did not have a WCA ID, meaning it really was not a competitor, you had to be able to solve the cross and match it to the centers and record your time for that. So we gave you the 8 seconds, the 12 seconds, just like if you were a real competitor, and you got to use a stack mat, and then you got to solve that. So that allowed siblings of cubers who were just there to watch, or a mom or a dad, even a grandma tried it. There was one grandpa who tried it. And then the kids, I said it was a role reversal. The kids, the cubers, were filming mom or dad or their grandma doing it while they tried to solve, and they couldn't believe how much they felt so much anxiety sitting there trying to solve it. And I'm like, now you know what your cuber feels like. And I was encouraging the cubers to say, you tell your parent, what do they normally say to you before you compete? You tell them back. And so the funny things I heard, that was great. I love that. So that was really fun. And I think we had 34 people compete in that. So that was really fun. And they enjoyed it. And I said, okay, now you know how to solve the cross. So now you've got to get to your second layer. So go away and learn that. So some people left inspired, thinking, oh, I've just learned how to do the cross. I could maybe do something else. So that was the whole point of it, is that seeing if we could get some other siblings involved or parents. It was a lot of fun. And then we also run the FTO event, so the face turning octahedrons, we ran that. And then we also run a really fun one called replication. So what it does is you get a cube that is scrambled in some kind of way, and then it is hidden behind view so that the audience can see this scrambled up cube, but the two people competing cannot see it. So they both have a stack mat with the timer. They had to run around to the front of the table to see this scrambled cube, and then run back and try to make their currently solved 3x3 to make it match the scramble.
Oh, it's like the
so
reverse.
They had to keep running back at. It's the reverse, exactly. So that was so much fun. People loved it. They were like running out back and forth, yelling at like, oh, I can't see the corner. It was just so much fun watching them. I have some fun video of them doing that. That was a lot of fun.
Okay, so
so that was a big highlight.
The 3 unofficial was the one where the family members were competing. Was there a requirement that you're not a WCA?
Yes, that was the rule. You couldn't have you didn't have one, or this wasn't your first competition or anything like that. You just couldn't be a competitor in any way. And that's how we made it fair. But I did make a first, second, and third prize for them as well. So the fastest person to solve the cross got a first place certificate, and a second place, a third place.
What certificate?
That they solved the cross.
Oh.
So they got a certificate saying a first place at the Ontario Championship, and they got a first place in solving the cross.
And how did you get 34 people to sign up for this?
I was walking around at some points, talking with people, saying, hey, do you know how to solve the cross? And they're like, or no, not at all. I said, do you think you can learn? And I would chat with the cubers and say, oh, do you want to teach your grandma how to do the cross? Grandma, do you like to learn? So I just was encouraging them. And then there was siblings who knew how to solve the cross, but didn't know that there would be such a thing. But yeah, just encouraging people, walking around, talking with them, telling them that was going to be available for all 3 days of the competition whenever they were available. And as long as me or one of the Cubing Out Loud team members were available to be the judge and make it be a little bit official, then we were offering them the ability to do it.
And did you come up with this yourself? Or is this one that's been done before?
Yes. No, that was my idea, just because I wanted to really try to, again, I think part of the mandate for cubing, and I don't know if you knew that 23 was all about new cubers, newcomers, what they were called. In the WCA community, we called it Newcomer Year. So I was thinking to myself in 2023, what else could we have done or could we do? So when this opportunity came up for the Ontario Championships, and because Cubing Out Loud is very receptive to things that I might like to suggest, and I suggested, how about we have some just unofficial things going beside the booth? It doesn't have to be anything that takes up a lot of time. I said, but I'd really like to come up with something that encourages non-cubers or the cuber supporters to be involved in a little bit of a way. So That's when I came up with the cross, because that's the beginner's way to start to solve the 3x3.
Wow. So you pitched it to the delegates and you talked to Cubing Out Loud and then you made it happen.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So FTO, obviously, I know that's a regular one now.
The face turning octahedron. Yeah.
And then the last one, was that your idea? Like, did you come up with that one too?
So I like replication, but actually Catherine, who's the owner of Cubing Out Loud, she's the one who came up with the fact that they should have to go around the table and look at it. So we had a couple of competitions ago, Sarah Strong, who's also awesome at doing the non-official events. She did a replication one. So nobody was told what it was going to be. You were just told if you want to compete in something, it was run at lunch. Bring up 2 solved cubes and then go sit at a station. So all the people that wanted to do it went ahead, including my cuber. It said, oh yeah, I'll do it. Whatever it is, we'll do it. So sits down. And then what happened is they got delivered 1 scrambled cube and 1 cube that was completely solved. And then, so when it was time to lift the cover, there was no judge needed or anything. It was a replication. It means try to make your solve cube look like the scrambled cube, and whoever can do it the fastest is the winner. So then Catherine, Cubing Out Loud, threw in, why don't you make them have to run around and then other people can see what's going on? And it was so much fun doing that. It was like a head-to-head. It was fun.
Basically, you and Catherine came up with this.
Yeah, but it was really her idea about to come up with the running around one. Yeah. I'm going to give her she gets the credit on that one for sure.
You get the credit on the first one. She gets the credit on that one. Thank you for sharing all about this and what happened at the Ontario Championship. This is what you're going to get on Speedcubing 101. It isn't going to be necessarily all the top finishers. We want to support them and honor them, and it's huge achievements that they have. But there's also side things happening, and wow, Wendy, you're definitely going above and beyond to not just volunteer and help, but to actually come up with events to foster Cuber supporters. I like that, Cuber supporters. I think you said you have like a separate website for the results of the competition, the unofficial, official.
Yep, I'm just going to pull it up, what it's called here. Yep, this is it. So for official, unofficial events, these are not events that are regulated by the WCA, but there still are official results. For example, if anybody's ever heard of the mirror cube, there's some people who are really fast at the mirror cube. And sometimes in larger competitions, the organizers will host these official, unofficial events. We also hosted at our Ontario Championships the 15 puzzle. That went over really well as well. People really enjoyed doing that. So I ran that one as well. So you can find these results on cubingcontest.com. And so if you are running a competition and you want to run some of these unofficial events, you have to register in there and sign up. And then you put in your competition, and there's some rules about how you have to run it, what are the rules for the certain contests that you want to run. And you just follow the rules there. And then people's results are entered there the same way that we would be entering results officially. You register these results as well on the cubingcontest.com.
Cubingcontest.com. I'll have that in the show notes. Is this around the world or just in Canada?
Yep. Around the world. Yep. And you can see it. I'm just going to pull it up now as we're chit-chatting here. See all contests. And I'm just looking to see that already somebody has one that's going to run in Singapore on January 1st, 2025.
Wow. Scheduling went out all the way for 2025 already.
Now, these are definitely not the things that lots and lots of people go into, the unofficial events, because some people don't even know about them or don't know how to solve that. Like lots of people didn't even know about what the 15 puzzle is. Nobody's even seen it. They're like, even really, really experienced cubers came up to me and I said, oh, do you want to do the 15 puzzle? They're like, oh, I don't even know how to do it. So there's lots of people that don't do those unofficial events at all. And then there's other people who just love it. Like my kid just love the unofficial events. So it's a lot of fun. When he sees a competition that has those, he's extra excited about it.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen too many of them.
No, because it's more work. Right? It's more work from the organizers to have to run something else. And I'm always so impressed when, again, Sarah Strong, she loves some of these. Even At the Canadian Championship, we had one, and it was a
Yes.
surprise event also. It was not probably in this cubing contest at all because it was just something very random, but the kids loved it. It was so much fun. It was about a ping pong ball, and you had to get the ping pong ball into this cup. It was just so much fun that they loved it. It was great.
This is a whole other world on top of the official world. Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. I think that covers it covers all of the unofficial. We covered some of the official, and the rest is on the WCA website.
And just for people out there who are not as familiar yet with the cubing community, everybody can go to any of these events. So even though you're not from Ontario, if you are from Sweden, you can come from Sweden, come all the way to the Ontario Championships and compete. It's no problem. You're not looked at sideways because you're not from there. You're very much welcome to come in. It just means you can't win the Ontario Championship title. You must be from the region. So I think that's really important for new people to know because they think, oh, there's a really close one in Washington State, like what happened for you out in Vancouver. You could go there, no problem. Even if it was the Washington State Championship, fine. They would accept anybody who wants to come. So I think that's important too, because sometimes it just works out for you to go to a different competition, or you want to go to one that's 2 days or that has this certain event that you really love, your cuber really loves, and it's not often held in your area, so you go somewhere else. You're very much welcome at any competition.
Okay. Congrats to all the competitors of the Ontario Championships. I'm sorry to have gotten this out to you a little later than I would have liked to, but thank you also to all the Cuber supporters. I got them there, fed them, recorded them, made sure they had everything. And to, of course, the delegates and organizers, thank you again. And Wendy, thank you for your time today.
My pleasure.
Congratulations again to everyone who competed in the Ontario 2024 Cubing Championships. Thank you to all the Cuber supporters who got them there, got them fed, got them home. And thank you to the incredible team of delegates for a successful event. I'm going to link to the list of upcoming cubing competitions in Canada in the show notes of this episode. But I did want to note that if you're in the Maritimes, mark your calendar, February 22nd to 23rd, 2025. You have a competition happening in Nova Scotia, and registration starts now, today. I have a few housekeeping things to wrap up this episode. Thank you for joining me today. And I've been watching which countries have been listening. And I'm only going to do this once because I anticipate it's just going to grow to a point where I won't be able to use up time to name every country that is listening to Speedcubing 101. So, of course, special thanks to everyone listening in Canada and America. However, if you're listening from Ireland, Austria, Belgium, Sweden, Germany, Denmark, Spain, France, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Japan, the Netherlands, Norway, or New Zealand, I feel the download love. Thank you. I hope you're not bots. I noticed one that's missing is Poland. If someone could tell Timon, although my cuber tells me his name is Timon. So anyways, someone tell him, you know who I'm talking about, that he's mentioned in the next episode of Speedcubing 101. I'm also surprised I don't see Australia on the list here. So all I got to say is New Zealand, you are faster than Australia at finding new podcasts on Speedcubing. Anyways, it takes time and effort and energy to make every episode of Speedcubing 101. And it's so encouraging and heartening to see the downloads coming in. Last couple things before we go, I promised I would let you know if you live in Canada and you're looking to find out more about having a competition come to where you are, you can email info@speedcubingcanada.org. That's info@speedcubingcanada.org. And lastly, I want to dedicate this episode to the mom at the BC Cubing Championships in Nanaimo, who gave us at the staff table some goodies, including freshly picked, I'm guessing, and freshly washed blueberries. They were delicious. I had them on the ferry and I was going to put it in the episode for the recap of the BC Championships. And then I was kicking myself because I didn't. And I didn't even meet this mom. She had given everything to Tanya, who you heard in episode 3, and Tanya shared them with us. Thank you so much. It was such a nice gesture for you to do that. And they were delicious blueberries. Sorry, now you know the things that make me happy. Things like really yummy blueberries. Okay, Cuber or Cuber supporter. If you have any questions, suggestions, or corrections, you can email me at cubemomofficial@gmail.com. I have to get used to saying that. cubemomofficial@gmail.com. Thank you for joining me today. I'm not sure if it's the right thing for me to say this, but you have to tune in to the future episodes coming up because I've talked to some really amazing, incredible, not just people in the speedcubing community, but just amazing, incredible humans. How's that for a tease? Is that good? Talk to you soon and happy cubing.